G'day, my name is Joel Rasmussen for Southern Cross Combat, and ahead of his fight at Hex 31 on June 14th, I'm talking to Mr. Jarrett Wilbraham. Jarrett, thank you so much for your time. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time coming, but I'm happy to be here, part of your podcast or interview.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. It's the first time I'm speaking to you. You are coming to me live from a house, not a van today. Where are we today?
I'm at my old man's place. I can't rely on the van Wi-Fi, It's
Of
not very
course.
good.
Of course. Also, the house is in Wollongong, I assume?
No, my hometown's in Nowra, which is about 45 minutes south.
Okay, very nice. So even further out.
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up there and I used to go up and train with the boys at Freestyle when I first started out. So yeah, it's not too far. I'm pretty blessed to be this close to such a great gym.
Absolutely, and I want to talk about that kind of your history in MMA in a little bit. But talking about that, so do you like do stints in the van, like drive the van up, live in Wollongong for a little bit, then come back?
Pretty much, yeah. It's been that way just to save money. You know, living in the van, I don't have any expenses, so I can train full time and afford to do it. So we'll go up, stay in Windang probably all week. But I like to train at home. So, we will come back maybe even two times a week. We'll drive back, train, and then I'll drive back up and train in the afternoon. So it's a bit of back and forth. And now I have sponsors on board. I can afford the petrol to go back and forth.
uh, when you're back in Narra, where are you training? Is that at home? Is there a gym in Narra you go to?
Yeah, my dad's set up down the back, like all mats and everything like that. So I got my own gym, bag hanging off the wall. We got a little pad down there as well. We got like our own kitchen and bedroom and everything. So we're pretty blessed that he still housing me at the age of 30.
Absolutely. Well, what are parents for? Who comes and trains with you in Narra? Is it people from the gym? Who gets down there with you?
No, it's my partner. Yeah, or my pad holder, I should probably call
I
her.
was gonna say, if I'm not, I heard in another interview, your partner is the pad holder. Is that a official title? Does she do that aside from holding pads for you?
When I met her, she was working in boxing gyms. So she had a bit of a, history of the sport and but not MMA. So it's been new for her. She's getting right into it. She's having her first jiu-jitsu comp on the weekend. So yeah, it's been good journey for both of us.
Oh, very nice. Are you gonna go and cheer her on?
Yeah, I'm gonna go there and yell some criticism from the sidelines like she does to me in my fights.
I know it's not fighting. Jiu-jitsu is a little bit less intense. Still intense though. But I just spoke to Amina Hadea yesterday, and we talked about her partner having his first professional fight. Is there any nerves about your partner going into a jits comp? Are you like, do not get injured?
Yeah, we're really worried about her getting injured. In her bracket, there wasn't any opponents, so it looked like she was going to have to go up a weight, and I wasn't real happy with that because injuries happen. But she's got a few in her bracket now, so hopefully we can avoid the injuries for her sake and my pad holding sake.
I was gonna say, if she gets injured, who's gonna hold the pads?
I'm screwed. I might look for a new missus if that happens, I reckon.
Has Is she still just on boxing pads for you, or have you got her on the Thai pads?
Oh no, she'll hold tie pads and everything like that. Yeah, I try not to do tie pads too often because it hurts her. Like, you know what I mean? Like kicking the pads, it's pretty brutal holding for people that kick. But we do like heaps of jiu-jitsu together as well, so we have a balance of it all.
I was gonna say, he holds Thai pads, you just blast through it.
I can't help it, man.
Just too powerful. Talking about weights, it's a beautiful transition there. You're a man who earlier on in your career fought at bantamweight, and
Mm,
then there was a part where you kind of went between, and now featherweight seems to be your home.
yeah.
What was the decision to go all in on featherweight, and kind of how did you feel the difference between bantamweight and featherweight?
Yeah, I was a pretty big bantamweight. I used to cut a lot of weight to get down there. Like, to give you an idea, I'd weigh in at 61 and on the night I'd be like 69.7 or something like that. Yeah. So I had my last bantamweight fight was against Cody Haddon, and I had a very bad camp. Uh, my camp got extended further than I would have liked, and my hormones were going out of balance. I wasn't sleeping properly. Just my body fat was just way too low for just a very long, extended time. And after that, I said, coming off a loss as well, I think it was a big thing to go up a weight class and fight bigger guys again, even, after I did lose at bantamweight. But when I got in there and fought, I realized that my cardio felt better. I was happy during camp, and that's the main thing. You got to enjoy the journey. And when I got hit, I felt like I didn't get wobbled, and my legs wouldn't, my legs came back under me at featherweight. Where at bantamweight, I was getting hit with shots that weren't even big, and then I'd just be wobbled, and it just wouldn't come back.
Now, talking about kind of, as you said there, the hormones get out of whack because your body's going through this intense like weight cut and you're like depriving yourself. When you swap back to featherweight, is that the simple fix? Did it all go away? Was there any like doctor's stuff you had to do, or did it just like fix itself?
Oh, yeah, there was repercussions that I was dealing with for a long time. It's still something to keep an eye on, but no, honestly, featherweight is my natural weight class. Like, just because you can make a weight, it doesn't mean you should. Like, I'm a very lean guy, so I would look at my weight and think, oh, I'm in like low 70s, I can make bantamweight, but I'm already lean. So by the time I go to bantamweight, my body fat was like, I'm not sure what it was, but I think it was down between like around about 3 to 5% sort of thing. It's just, no one should really fight that lean, I don't think.
Now, to be at the weight class you belong at, how nice is that? How nice is it to not be like dying?
Oh, it's so good. And, I'm still very lean, so I can sit in a very comfortable position. And where these guys are cutting all the weight to get to the body fat that I am, to then cut to the featherweight limit. So I sit lean, eat well, and then the last few weeks I can start dropping a little bit of body fat and make it quite comfortably.
Now, I've seen some people online, some of your teammates, refer to you by some different nicknames. I know you used to go by Wild Man, but I think that's kind of a moniker you've kind of dropped.
Oh, I dropped it, but then every time I fight, I seem to just keep living up to the Wild Man. So I just think I have to accept it.
It got bestowed upon you, and now you
It
can't get
did,
rid of it.
yeah. It chose me, unfortunately. I couldn't prove otherwise that I wasn't wild, so I have to keep it.
But I have heard you talk about, I feel like a kind of transformation you've gone through around your mindset in fighting. How has
Mm.
that kind of been for you?
Oh, it's been great. Like, when I first started, I went straight to pro, so I didn't have any amateur fights. I fought twice for my first fight. I fought twice in one night and won a pro title. So I was put into a position where everyone I was fighting was just way better than me. So I realized that I wasn't going to make it in this sport unless I gave up everything and moved into a van, trained not just morning and night, but all through the day. So I really had to put in more hours than what everybody else was to get on their level. I finally believe I'm there. So I feel really good, really confident with my abilities now.
You say that about, you identified the differences and you made those changes to become better. But when you win 2 fights in one night and a pro title in your first night fighting, like, what does that do to a person? You must be like, man, this fighting stuff's easy.
Oh, like, I was told I was going to lose against Luke Standen in the main event because he'd had like 10 pro fights, very skilled fighter. But in my mind, I'm like, even if I'm not the best fighter, I can always find a way to win. And I was only fighting to begin with because it was like going to be it was almost a funny thing. Like, I'm going to go and fight twice in one night and all my mates are going to come and watch me and it's going to be like classic. I didn't have it I didn't want to do it as a career at the start. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll fight. It's better than doing it in an hour out the front of the pub.
Where does that in your pro career, where does that change happen then when you go from this is a laugh to all right, let's really do this?
I think after I won my fourth pro fight, um, I was 4-0. I think I was close to being like the top 10 in the country. And people were telling me like, you could go to the UFC. And I think that's when I first believed it. Yeah, I can. I feel that if I'm this good now and I put 110% effort into this sport, there's no way I can fail.
And is that like, I'm trying to word this way that isn't just like super like, you just great, but is that like a natural talent? Is that mental toughness that you feel got you through that when the skill gap was a bit bigger?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been the best at anything. Like I played footy for many years and I was on the bench. I was never like physically gifted. I was small. But I've always had a hard work ethic. Like from a young age, my dad would drop me on job sites and I'd just clean up the whole job site. And I really found a lot of pride in how quick and efficient I could do a job and how hard I could work. And I think I've taken the work ethic across to martial arts. And, people either have it or they don't, and you can see it in their fights. You can see it in their training. You can see it when new guys come in the gym. The first day they train, whether they have it or not. So I've moved to a gym where I'm surrounded by people with a high work ethic, and it's just only up from here, I believe.
Talking about being at freestyle, when you started and you were having those first four fights, where were you training out of?
I was in Nowra at a small gym called Warhammer. It was at the back of a show, the back of a gymnastics hall. It was a tiny little cage. My coach's name was Troy Blacker. There was probably just like 6 to 8 of us boys that would go in there, and it was like savage. We would have this tiny like 3 meter by 3 meter cage. We'd put small gloves on and just bash the shit out of each other every day. My brother was there as well. Like he's had multiple fights as well. He did really well, but it was just so intense. Like we could never have kept up that sort of training. It was like the real old school mentality.
And then after there, you moved to freestyle?
After that, then what happened was our gym caught fire. And yeah, I believe it was deliberately lit because the council wanted us out of that building for a long time. And yeah, so it caught fire. They basically kicked us out. I was without a gym for a long time. And in that time, I just trained alone at home. And then I met my partner, and she was traveling at the time in a caravan. So I traveled with her for a little bit. And then we wanted to meet halfway on like a life that I wanted and a life that she wanted. So that's when we made the decision to go to the Gold Coast, buy a van, live the van life, train full time. And then a few years up there until I got to a point where I ended up coming back down here and training with the guys at Freestyle.
Yeah, while you were in Queensland, was there like a specific gym you were working with?
Yeah, Potential Unlimited, Puma. Yeah, they're in Burleigh Heads. So that was under Vince Perry, a very experienced coach. I think first black belt in Queensland, like great striker when he fought back in the day. So it was really good to like work with him, and he blended his style sort of towards me, which I still resemble a lot of that now. So it was always the blessing to work with him.
I'm not overly familiar with that gym. Would you say, is that like a bigger gym to be at? Is it also like a small group?
It was a bigger gym. When I went there, there was a lot of fighters there, like Reese McLaren, who fights on ONE FC. He was there, and that was the reason why I kind of went there, because I wanted a guy that had really good wrestling, really good grappling, and good striking as well. But I like to consider myself a striker, so I want to work with the people that want to try to take me down. So, but then what happened was all the fighters kind of just dropped off. And then before I knew it, it was just me. And then, I was going through camp, went into camp, fought Cody. And I think when I got into that fight, I'm like, man, I haven't really had hard rounds in the gym. Now suddenly I'm in a fight, and just wasn't really ready for it. So moving back down, training with, Colby, Alex, Justin, all those guys, it was like, I was the nail for a long time there at Freestyle, and it's really built me into the fighter that I am now.
So I've been fortunate. I've visited freestyle before. It's a small gym, both literally and a really tight knit group of high level guys. Um, as someone who is trained at small gyms and a large gym, what are the benefits you get from that kind of like small kind of group community?
Yeah, it's connection, you bond well when you're in a small team, and there's a lot of one-on-one with you rather than it being watered down and trying to give everybody the techniques. But I think like at any gym, if you're willing to learn and you're asking the right questions, people are going to direct their energy towards you. I think if people go into a gym, no matter what size it is, put in a good work ethic and show that they're willing to learn, the knowledge is going to come your way regardless.
You talked about for a long time being at the gym, you're the nail. I've spoken to Justin Van Heiden before, and he's said the same thing, and he says that he's still the nail. And I can't, like, when you're gearing up for a fight, like, I asked him, when you gear up for a fight, do you slowly become the nail less? And he's like, no, I'm still the nail. How does that, like, build your confidence if, like, you're getting smashed all the time in the gym and then you go out and you fight?
Yeah, I don't think it's like that, to be honest. I think it's really competitive now. There's like a group of us, like we got Colby, Seb, Kasib, Justin, Alex. We're all like the same weight class, and it's very, very competitive. And I feel that that's why we are so good, because we are not like just moving around, playing this like flowy sort of touch spar, and we're like trying to win the rounds. And that's the winning mentality. We do it when we fight and we do it when we spar. I wouldn't say there's any nails anymore.
Everyone is equally hammer and nail.
Exactly. Any round could go either way.
When you've got a gym of guys who are so close, either they are directly your weight class or, like your Colby's, who is just one weight class away. How beneficial is that where you're training with guys who are like literally can be a direct comparison to yourself and people that you fight?
It's the most important thing, I believe. I think when you start working with bigger guys that aren't in your weight class, you're just more prone to getting injured. They don't have the same speed as the guys in your weight class. There's a lot of differences. Having your team around the same weight class, it's kind of like, who's another gym? Like Team Alpha Male was very much like that. There's a ton of like featherweights and lightweights there, and that's why they do so well as well.
Absolutely. And talking about featherweight, you are fighting Semakadde Kakembo for the number one contenders shot to the Hex featherweight title. What are your thoughts on Semakadde?
Oh, Sam, yeah, he's a skilled fighter. Little bit of like a one trick sort of pony, I believe. But I think people are starting to switch onto that as well. Like he's talked a lot of shit going into this. And I think when you fight the way that he does, he's just started to realize now, like, I need to start talking shit to get people tuning in, watching my fights. So here we are. Like, I think he thinks he's trying to push me out of character, but I've dealt with dickheads my whole life. So, I'm used to this.
You said a one trick pony. What do you think that trick is?
Oh, like he's just got good kicks. He wants to just jump, like try to take you down and just jump on your back and choke you out. Like, what he wants to do. It's the same thing in every fight. Doesn't really use his hands much. Tries to soak up the clock, stays on the outside, and doesn't really look for that finish unless he opportunistically comes across it.
There has been a little bit of back and forth between you guys. Justin Van Heerden sent me a story that you posted the other day where you photoshopped someone else's face on top of Sam's. How is that back and forth? Is that something that you like love having the little cheeky jabs at each other?
No, like I've always been respectful to the guy. Couldn't really say the same for him. Like last time I saw him, went to shake his hand, he like paused, looked me up and down, and I was like, all right, I know what sort of guy you are. But I still remain respectful. He's the one that started talking shit. I saw an interview with him and you asked him about me, and he didn't have much to say. He's like, Jarrett's a funny guy. But that's when he sits behind a keyboard and he acts one way. And then when you put him on the spot, he doesn't know what to say. But again, people aren't going to tune in because of his fight style. They're going to tune in because he talks shit. So I see the avenue he's going, like Colby Covington sort of thing.
Now, when I asked you about what you thought of his skills, you kind of gave a really nice layout there and gave what you saw. If anyone scrolls through your Instagram, they see you do fight breakdowns. You had a podcast as well where you would kind of go through it. Uh, is that something that kind of like comes naturally? Like, I'm a fan of the sport, but I don't have the mind for that. Like, I can't look and be like, this is what's happening. Was that something that's always come naturally to you?
I honestly thought it was something that everybody could see. And when I would point things out, they would be like, oh, I had no idea that that was happening in the fight. So I think that's where I just really wanted to start sharing it when I started to realize maybe I do see things a little bit differently and wanted to share that knowledge with other people. But again, like I was very inexperienced and I had to get a lot better. And a big part of that was studying the shit out of the guys that were the best.
Is that something you still do now?
Yeah, still do it every day, all the time. I feel like I'm at a point now when I look at a fight, I'm seeing things that I just don't want to share anymore. And I don't want to half-ass doing breakdowns where I'm like giving very shit breakdowns, in my opinion, where other people might feel that they're good, but it's like I can't post it because I don't really respect the knowledge that I'm giving. So it's kind of hard. I wanted to start doing it again. I think I will after this fight, but I might start breaking down like boxing or something like that instead of MMA because they're two completely different sports, and I understand boxing well as well.
Of course. And of course, as an athlete, you're focusing like on your career. Now, this is a number one contenders fight for the featherweight title, in which on the same night your teammate is fighting for that title against Abdallah Biata. If you beat Sem and Justin beats Abdallah, what happens then?
Look, Justin's been grinding in this sport like a lot longer than what I have. I don't actually think that the belt is the pathway to the UFC. I really don't. I feel like if you have a certain style of fighting, you can go straight in. Like, let's look at Tom Nolan, who's fighting this weekend. He never got his hand like eternal belt wrapped around his waist. He just steamrolled everybody, had a very aggressive come forward style. And Dana was like, yeah, I need that guy fighting in the UFC. So for me, it's not about like the title fights. For me, it's about putting on exciting fights. So I actually don't really even care that it's a what do you call it, interim belt fight. Like I really don't even care about that fact.
What are your thoughts on Justin Van Heerden versus Abdallah Biata?
I think they both have the skill set to make it an exciting fight. They're both very dangerous for each other's styles. It's a hard one, like for both these guys. They're both going to go in there locked in a cage for 5 rounds. We'll see. Like Sam struggled with Abdullah. He got to his back a few times. I think Justin's a lot better in that position, and I feel that he can secure a submission.
This may be a super niche question about things that fighters do not have to worry about. But you're fighting, and then in theory, I could see you being the last fight before the title fights. But of course, both out of the same gym. Do you think Joe Lopez is going to get a break between, or do you think he'll walk back, drop you off, pick up Justin, and then leave and immediately go to the next fight?
Oh, I think he's dealt with that so many times before. So it's not too much to worry about. There's going to be a few of us there. I've got my pad holder backstage. Like it's all good. Whatever happens, it's all good. I hope the earlier I'm on the fight card, the better, because Hex can drag on late. Like I remember when I fought in the main event, I was like fighting at nearly midnight. So earlier the better for me.
Are you going to stick around and hang out, or are you a guy who likes to fight and then go home? Well, not home, but leave.
Oh, like I watched Justin fight, you know. It depends. There's probably going to be like some upset people in the crowd, so maybe they'll have to sneak me out the back door.
Talking about that, you are fighting in enemy territory, as some say. Uh, I don't imagine that worries you, but still, how do you feel about it, and what are your thoughts?
No, dealt with it my entire life. If it wasn't enemy territory, I wouldn't feel as comfortable. So more than happy to be there in enemy territory.
Happy to upset some people in the crowd, it seems.
100%.
It has been just over a year, if I'm not mistaken, since your last fight.
Yeah.
How has that year been for you?
Yeah, like um it was a long layoff. I got injured after that last fight. So I was on the way to the venue when suddenly I had this huge sharp pain in my stomach. It like folded me over. My partner said, like, "Are you okay?" And I just looked at her. I said, "We'll deal with it after the fight." And yeah, so in the fight, I just felt horrible, drunk, like the world was spinning. The only way I can just like describe it is like I drank half a case of beer and then got into a fight. And I just wanted that fight to end. First time ever, I've just wanted the time to run out on the clock. And then, yeah, the next day I was in hospital, had a like internal rupture, and that took a while because I had to then wait a bit, go through all these tests, figure it all out. Because when they scanned me in the hospital, my fat around my organs was so low that it didn't show up on the tests. So I had to wait to kind of like put a bit of weight and fat back on before they could figure out what it was. And then I had to wait to get surgery, and it just dragged on. So that left me out of fighting for the rest of the year. And it's just happened this way.
When you go to the hospital and they're like, "What do you think has happened?" And you're like, "I was just in a professional fight." What are like the nurses and stuff reactions? Because I'm sure they're not used to that.
Man, every time you go to a hospital for a fight, the nurses treat you like absolute shit. Like I've been to hospital a fair few times from being in fights, probably not like professional fights, but they treat you like absolute shit. And I'm like, man, I'm the victim of a bashing here, you know what I mean? But they don't care about that. So yeah, I just let my partner do all the talking, and that was the best thing that I could do, I think. But I was in some serious pain. Like I woke up the next morning and I actually thought I was going to die. So she's rushing me to the hospital. I just felt like, oh, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah. I just felt like something was going to explode inside of me. And they got me in pretty quick and got me on the morphine pretty quick, which was good.
I can imagine the morphine was
Yeah, I
nice.
like the morphine. It's probably a bit dangerous to put me on that stuff.
um, that last fight, you know, we're talking about it now. You have this incredible, immense pain, and it's horrible. And that's the first fight in your career you go the distance. Although I'm sure you like having the 100% finish rate, knowing that you can overcome that, like you can overcome internal bleeding and still win the fight, is that like in any way helps the self-confidence?
It does, because like when something goes wrong, like my body was saying like no, but my brain was like, all right, put that to the side. Let's just think about how to win this fight. So it was very much like, all right, I'll take him down here, hold this position here. You know, like I was just really grinding it out, which isn't the way that I like to fight. I expect more of myself, but yeah, I was looking up to my partner. She was there cage side, and I said, "How long left on the clock?" And I think she said a minute 30, and I thought she said 30. And then I said, "How long now?" And she was like a minute 20. So I was like counting down every 10 seconds. And then after it, I couldn't stand. Like I went to walk over to sit on the stool, and Joe was like, "You're not sitting down," because he didn't know what I was going through. So I was standing there with my thumbs in my shorts and like holding myself up, or like I went and hugged my partner, but I just dropped my entire body weight over her to like hold me up because I didn't want the judges to see that I couldn't stand. And then, yeah, I went backstage and then immediately was like, went to the toilet and I was passing blood, which wasn't good. And then, yeah, that just kept happening. And yeah, hospital.
Yeah, and then the hospital the next morning.
Yeah.
I know you were looking, if I'm not mistaken, you were looking to get booked for May, but that didn't obviously work out. You're now fighting in June. I know you've been looking for a fight, but to have that time where you're not booked and you can kind of just focus on your own skills, how has that been for you?
Oh man, huge. Like maybe it was meant to be that way. Maybe the universe was like, you're not ready. We need to improve in a lot of areas, and it's all just like I'm a big believer in it is what it is. Like it happens the exact way that it's meant to unfold. And I have come such a long way in that time. I think Sam watches that last fight and he's like, oh, look, he's so easy to take down and this and that. It's like, yeah, I didn't even see the takedowns coming because I couldn't even bloody see properly. You know what I mean? Like, so this is a good chance for me to actually show the fighter that I am, because I feel like I didn't get to do it in the last fight. And then even when I fought Khan, I was like fighting recklessly. So I didn't get to show it in that fight either. And this is the fight where everyone will understand the fighter that I am and know the direction that I'm going.
Do you feel that you're coming into this fight with something to prove?
Not something to prove, just something to show, you know. I don't think that people are like counting me out or anything like that. I'm surrounded by like my team. I think they're like, we just want you to show your potential, and that's what I'm going to do. Go out there and just show my potential this fight. Like, there's always glimpses of it in my fights, but it's never been like, it's never all really come together. And that's because I didn't have any amateur career. I just went straight into the pro ranks, took time off, got better, but time in between fights never stopped anything. Like I think my longest layoff was like 3 years. I come back and had like the best performance I've ever had.
Not consider like aside from the illness that affected you in your last fight, but when you look at the martial artist that you were in that last fight, and you look at the martial artist you are today, what improvements do you see?
Just all round, everything came together. My striking came together. My footwork's come together. My grappling's come together. Like, I absolutely love grappling now. I always was like, yeah, grappling's just to get back to your feet and strike. But no, I actually have a huge love and respect for it now. Like, it's the thing I look forward to the most. So just complete mixed martial artists, I feel. I think that's what it's come down to.
Where did that love for grappling come from? Was there something that made you fall in love with it?
I just had a light bulb moment one day rolling, and I suddenly just, it was like I went into like a complete flow state, and I just understood everything about positions. It's like I could see the full picture rather than focusing on one thing. I could see where they were based, how to off balance them, how to move, how to get to positions. And then I just worked on how to pin really well. And I just felt supernatural in scrambles. Like, just in the middle of scrambles, I'm like searching for like the next best thing, like making the right decisions in scrambles rather than just like scrambling, and became a lot more offensive. Not just working on the defense all the time like I was.
You began to look through the matrix. It was all the ones and the zeros. You could see the code.
Literally, it was like a mushy trip. It's like it just all hit me with this information all at once. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's that easy.
The third eye has been opened.
It opened. Yeah, there's no going back now.
As we said, you're fighting in enemy territory. How far out from the fight would you typically like come down?
What do you mean? Like, I come
Oh,
down to the fight?
to Melbourne. Yes, sorry.
I think they're going to fly me down on the Wednesday because it's going to be a press conference. So they want me there for that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, excellent. I'll see you at the press conference then.
Oh, amazing.
I believe that's everything I had to talk to you about today, Jarrett. I thank you so much for your time. Well, I know when we were setting this up, you were talking about your training schedule. What training is on for the rest of the day?
I got open mat. So back to the wrestling and grappling. So yeah, I look forward to Friday. So we got a heap of amateur guys that are fighting too. So we're going to put them through their meat grinders before open mat, torture them a little bit, and then sparring tomorrow. So my favorite time of the week.
Are the amateurs are fighting? Is that for the upcoming Wollongong Wolves card?
Yeah, Wollongong Wars. It's very busy in the gym at the moment. A lot happening. So
Excellent.
yeah.
I asked about Joe getting quick turnarounds. If you got a gym full of amateurs, bro, you might as well just stay out there in the corner.
Oh man, it's He's going to be under some stress, under the pump.
I talked about this with Amina yesterday, but what day is King of the Wall again?
Tuesday.
How do you fare in King of the Wall?
Yeah, I love King of the Wall. Yeah.
Do you
When
do
I,
well?
yeah, well, when I came to freestyle, I was the nail, like on King of the Wall, I tell ya. But no, I'm holding my own now. I love it. Something I look forward to.
I'm so glad to hear that, Jarrett. I thank you so much for your time. Safe travels when you do come down to Melbourne. Good luck in the fight. And also, good luck to your partner in her jiu-jitsu tournament. I hope she does well.
Thank you, Joel. So kind of you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time.
See you, brother.